After a fast and furious comeback in the fourth quarter, not to be for the Sixers. They fall 0-2 to start the season as we welcome you here to Sixers Postgame Live, brought to you by Cure Auto Insurance. Amy Fadool, Lynam and Marc Jackson. And guys, it was a frenetic fourth quarter. The Sixers looked like they were going to have the same result up in Boston, Jim, but then they came right back. We're going to talk a little bit more about that run they went on. But maybe the most remarkable part of that part of the game, no Joel Embiid on the court.
Yeah, and I believe Tyrese Maxey was also sitting at that time, Aim. Yeah, a terrific stretch of defense. I think 13 straight points by the Sixers. They turned Milwaukee over 5 times out of 7 possessions. And at the other end, James Harden was doing his thing. A terrific effort to come back, but unfortunately, they made a couple big mistakes in the last minute of the game.
Mark, when you're looking at this, any takeaways from what you saw from Joel Embiid? He looked maybe off. I don't know how else I would describe it.
For me, Joel doesn't look like he's primed in prime shape right now. It doesn't look like he's in great shape right now. And the rhythm, all these new pieces are not adding up. That's what I say. I don't see rhythm, and Joel is just not crisp right now.
How tough is that to see, Jim, as a coach? This is your superstar. This is your would-be MVP, and he doesn't seem like he's on the same page, whether it's his offensive game, certainly defensively, like we saw in Boston, and at times in this loss tonight.
Yeah, I think it is fair to say, Joel is not himself. But, Aim, and maybe it's me, but the preparation in all sports now, professional sports, for the season, I don't know how players can be in great condition to start a year. The number of games that they play in terms of exhibition or preseason, they've cut them back. The practice sessions, not as lengthy or as rigorous as in years past. And I'm talking all sports. And I think, a player like Joel, you're talking a big fella. And, he's got to work real hard to get, that frame, that 7 foot, 280 pounds in shape. And I don't think he's quite there yet.
And also, Coach, let me add to that, not just that his frame also, but when you back-to-back, can we just put this out there? Maybe back-to-back, falling short of the MVP is like, well, what can I do to win it? He's like, man, I'm just go ahead and take this summer extra. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it can kind of deflate you a little bit as a player. But I agree with you. I don't think it's enough time in the preseason because 2-3 weeks, that stuff don't exist no more. So it takes some time. I agree.
And there's no practice. I mean, we've talked about that. There really isn't that kind of practice. They do what they can in the new framework, but it's disappointing, I think, for a lot of the fans at home watching and thinking, if Joel Embiid had done just a little bit more in that furious comeback, you find out, you only lose by 2 points. Does that maybe make it sting a little bit more?
It does. It does. When you got your franchise guy and he's not having the best game, and you kind of, that's 2 games in a row. The way this team is put together, 2 games in a row is a problem, and Philly 1 game is a problem. So, it kind of amplifies Joel not really, and when he had the run, Joel not being in a game, that kind of adds to it as a Sixer fan, as we say.
Yeah, listen, the city's riding high right now, and they don't want the Sixers bringing them down. And it is a tough 1-2 punch right out of the gates. Let's be honest about that. As Jim mentioned on the pregame show, and Marcus said it as well, these are the top 2 of the top 3 teams right now, and 3 if you include the Sixers. So it is tough with the Celtics and the Bucks. Not that that's an excuse, but we got to talk about the end of the game and how this one went down. The Sixers had just taken their first lead since it was 2-0 at 86-84. And then, Wesley Matthews, they have a lot, 86, pardon me. They have a lot of players that haven't been playing because of the injuries, Jim, and Wesley Matthews is one of them.
Yeah, and it's a mistake in a sense. You saw Doc Rivers' face. Joel Embiid switches, and Grayson Allen, can he throw up a prayer? Yes, but it's a 2-point game. Even if it goes in, you're still tied. So Tobias leaves. You can't leave Wes Matthews out there on the timeline. Let Joel take the driver, in this case, Grayson Allen, and if he makes that shot, which I doubt he's going to, the defense was real good, except Tobias turned, looked at the ball, and when you look like that, it's players, they gravitate toward the ball, thinking maybe I can help. No, stay with your guy on the line.
Yeah, exactly. You see P.J. Tucker's reaction at that time when he's taking the ball, like, why you help? Instinctively as a player, you're taught so much to help and recover. My mother's in her 60s now. She's driving in a lane. Instinctually, I'm going to come help and try to recover. It's a hard ask that a guy's been programmed his whole life to do that. unfortunately, he left one of the most prolific scorers the Bucks have. I mean, shooters the Bucks have.
Yeah, he is a good shooter. Well, the Sixers, even with all that, still had a chance at the end. They obviously had the turnover, which may or may not have been a turn. We don't need to worry about that. But they had a chance at the very end, under 10 seconds left. It is our play of the game. And when it goes down to something like this, Jim, you and Mark noticed right away, this is out of the bounds. This is the deflection. But you had a point of where you saw James Harden take the shot from.
Yeah, I thought, I guess this is the play.
This is the
Yeah, that's
deflection.
the out-of-bounds play where the ball was certainly deflected. No question Grayson Allen hit it. And did Maxey hit it or not? I can't tell, to be honest. The angle is such that the ball, covers whether or not it hit his hand in terms of the camera angle. The Sixers still have it. I think Harden gets a good play, but I'd like to see, he's going to a strong hand, as Mark said. I think he drove it too deep. I'd like to see him shoot glass on that play for me, because I think he creates a good play. Now, Drew Holiday, it's good defense.
It is good defense.
He gets in the air, puts a hand in his face for a challenge. But it's a very tough angle shot. It's one of those, would you agree, Mark, do you shoot the board or don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because it is good defense. We know that's one of the Drew Holiday. And I think Harden wanted contact, but you can't play to the contact, right?
There you go. Not at that time.
No.
Play through the whistle till you hear something. Right there, James at that time, creature of habit, anticipating the foul. They didn't call it, got played through it. But also, I would like to say this. I know James Harden's a great scorer, but right there on that fake screen that Tyrese had, he had two guys in a split second. I would have loved to see that ball skip back to Maxey. Just throwing out there another option.
It was tough to watch because there was so many positives earlier on in that fourth quarter. They took the lead, as I mentioned, for the first time since it was 2-0. That was part of a 13-0 run for the Sixers. That is our Colonial Nissan game changer. And James Harden prominently featured. He was all over the place in this run. Starts with the drive, Mark, and then he has a step back. What did you see from him during this run?
He just took it. He just took the bull by the bull by the horns and just took over the game. And and it seemed like he had the right other four guys out there. And it was one time he went by a defender so quick and laid it up. I was just like, oh wow, this is 10 years ago, James Harden.
He can take the Bucks by the horns. That's okay. You can say that. It's totally fine. They got horns up there. And then so there's the Tobias three, who had not been having a great game up until that point, but he really shined in this one. He has a block here, Jimmy, and then of course Harden comes through with a couple more.
Yeah, I thought Tobias made a lot of key plays at both ends of the court in the late game situation. But I agree with Mark in that James Harden, his fingerprints were all over this game, and it's a shame really that a defensive lapse there. I think is, for me, that's the key play. At the other end, you make a shot, you miss a shot, who knows? But that was an unforced error at the defensive end.
What about having Embiid and Giannis both on the bench, and Maxey at times during that 13th minute, but the two superstars on the bench, they went really small. What do you think about that? Yeah,
ironic, but what it did, it enabled them, Aim, to get active defensively. They pressured up, they got their hands on balls, and as I said, they forced 5 turnovers in that stretch where they went on the 13-0 run.
Yeah, it was unfortunately not how they wanted to end this one at their home opener as they fall 90-88. Let's check in with Doc Rivers now.
Doc, Joel didn't seem he was able to get anything going in the second half tonight, but do you think maybe he was gassed or did the Bucks do something?
No, I don't know if the Bucks did anything. He just didn't have a great game. He's human. He didn't have one of his better games. He did a lot of other things for us tonight. I thought defensively he was pretty good tonight. We got him 21 shots. I didn't like where some of them were where he got it. So we still are work in progress offensively. We got to get a better rhythm.
And then in the first half, with Reed, second half, Montrez, what did you kind of see from the two of them?
Tonight I didn't like either one, honestly. That's why we went with Tuck. And I thought that lineup changed the game for us. So they're both going to be great. They're going to have good nights too. Trying to find who fits James the best is the key with that, when Joel's off the floor. And usually both of them are pretty good rollers. Today, neither one of them did that very well.
Just a matter of Harrell not doing what you wanted. What caused you to go with that Tucker lineup?
I just wanted to give Paul Reed a chance. You mean in the second half? Yeah, we had made that decision at halftime, honestly. Yeah. We just thought if we can get it. It's tough because we're trying to match PJ's minutes with Giannis. And then the one stretch, I just said, we're just going to keep PJ out there. He said he can take the minutes, so we left him out there.
You like how that final possession unfolded, at least the look that you
Yeah,
got?
I did. You know, I thought two things. We got Tyrese on the slip out on that. I haven't seen it. I think he may have been open. I thought James got bumped by Allen, not at the basket. I thought the bump came before the drive, which they call every time. They didn't call that. And honestly, I was blocked out, so I haven't seen the shot. I think James would take that shot and would be fine with it, but I haven't seen it yet.
You made more mid-range jumpers than he's ever made in a game.
Yeah.
Was that just a matter of him taking
He took what they gave him. Yeah. Obviously, threes and layups are nice, but when you got a guy with his ability, he can make them from anywhere.
What were you seeing from specifically the starting unit, their offensive organization? It seemed like they struggled to get this.
Yeah, I didn't think we were very organized as far as offense. Didn't execute is a better word for it, and it's going to take time. We just got to keep working on it. Even on the one ISO for Joel, not the last one, I think 2 or 3 plays before the last one, we run elbow 5 for a year and a half now, and we had 2 guys on the same side, so he didn't have a clear side, and that should never happen.
Doc, there were a number of Brook Lopez open threes.
Yeah.
How would you assess the defensive breakdowns?
I would say overall, we got to a lot of them, and a lot of them we just lost them. It's tough when you're 5 standing out at the 3. We get sucked in at times. You just got to have great discipline. The Holiday or who made the Matthews last 3. That's just discipline. You got a 2-point lead. You can't get sucked in. They got to make a tough 2, and we would live with that. We also had a foul to give that we didn't use, and that we were trying to use, and we were yelling, and we didn't use it. So. Again, we're playing. The first 2 teams we've played have been through all this. We're still learning it.
You mirrored Giannis and Tucker's minutes with Giannis.
Yeah, I was very happy with that. Yeah, Tuck, he was fantastic overall. He did a heck of a job. And Giannis, usually there's one man doesn't guard him. And tonight, for the most part, Tuck did that.
You mentioned the small ball unit got you back in the game.
Yeah.
I guess, especially with James's ability to find guys.
Yeah.
You had a better offensive flow with that group.
Yeah, because we were going downhill. It really wasn't a lot of rolling in that group. We just had the space for us to attack. So that's a good unit for us. At least tonight. Yeah, I thought with 5 minutes left, I thought we had a couple guys gas. I thought it was time for Joel to come in. So we did go with it long. We went all the way to the 5-minute mark, I think.
Besides just the fact that you guys are still a work in progress, any major takeaways from these first 2 that you feel
No,
like?
we lost 2 games. I told them no moral victories. You played 2 great teams. You knew from the day they had released the schedule that they were coming, and we have to expect to win these games. Even while we're a work in progress, we still want to win these games. So can't get them back now. You have to move on and get to the next game. Each game, there's been small improvement. Defensively, night and day from the other night. Took the paint away for the most part. The game turned ugly, and with our size, we can live with that.
I know you just said no moral victories, but do you take anything from James scoring, going off the way he did?
Yeah, I'm happy with individual performances. I'm just not happy with our team performance yet. So, James, both games has been fantastic.
James had it going, and a lot of the shots are coming from the mid-range. Is that something that you worked on in the offseason, or is that just him taking the shots that are available?
Yeah, took the shots that he had. I thought the toughest shot of the game is when we threw it to Joel on the roll, and Joel threw it back to him in the paint, and he had to make that. That's a tough shot to make, and he made it, so he felt very comfortable tonight. Thanks, guys.